A perfect storm is sweeping across America as the trillions of dollars that were just pumped into the economy are driving consumer demand significantly higher. However, adding that to tight supplies and transportation issues, and the result we're getting is a massive shortage of everything, while prices reach astronomical highs. From steel and aluminum to electronic chips and control boards, from lumber to home appliances, cars, trucks, electrical equipment, and an enormously wide range of manufactured goods industries are facing catastrophic supply disruptions. As production has been slowed down over the past few months, transportation problems continue to delay deliveries, and a sudden upsurge in demand is pushing the price of everything up at a much faster pace than people's income growth. Although the $1,400 checks may be providing some short-term relief to millions of families, the mismatch between demand and output will make everything more expensive, which means the Weimar-like hyperinflation we warned about has just begun. If that's what authorities call recovery, we must be prepared, because we're about to face a generalized supply chain breakdown and the rapid decay of our purchasing power. That's what we're going to expose today, so stay with us. And don't forget to leave a thumbs up and share this video, and subscribe to our channel to keep updated with the next chapters of the U.S. economic collapse. The arrival of stimulus money into the accounts of millions of Americans should come as financial relief for those who are deeply struggling during the recession. But soaring prices will cause the opposite effect, since fewer people will be able to afford the same goods they used to consume. As we discussed in many of our previous videos, the Fed's constant liquidity pumps would eventually end up triggering runaway inflation, and that's exactly what's happening right now. In Wednesday's press conference, Fed Chair Jay Powell signaled plans to let red-hot inflation run for an indefinite period of time in an economy that is already overheating. The problem is that by doing so, the central bank is effectively crushing the purchasing power of the American consumer. And the situation is about to get worse as producers of intermediate goods have just started hiking prices even further and passing through inflation. When confronted about the widespread shortages of goods and the enormous price surge witnessed over the past few weeks, the Fed merely ascribed what is taking place to unexpected supply chain disruptions as a consequence of both the trade conflict with China and the health crisis, which have sparked chaos among traditional supply chain intermediaries. However, the collapse in supply is being fueled by a sudden rise in demand, which for its part has been boosted by the Fed's very own monetary policies, and they know it. Considering that many workers aren't still feeling confident enough to return to their job posts, the stimulus checks are also helping them to stay out of the labor market for the time being. While it's evident that there are many health concerns, the side effects of this trend are causing a labor shortage across many industries, which is also contributing to elevated prices. As a business owner, Mike Schuler described in an interview, people are making so much money being unemployed with so much of the stimulus money, and a lot of people just aren't going back to work. It's awful for the restaurant industry. Schuler, who owns the eatery Smoke on the Water in downtown Greenville, just as many other restaurant owners, is having to face some very difficult questions about the future of his business. The hard part is, how do you absorb all of that? As a business, you've got to raise prices to account for the increase in labor costs, increase in product costs as well, he explained. Something has got to give, highlighted Adam Hayes, Executive Vice President of Larkin's Restaurants. I don't know what the answer is, but it's somewhat of a perfect disaster. The restaurant sector is just one of the many dealing hardships right now. And to prove so, we gathered statements of experts, economists, and industry insiders of several different segments that are reporting how the unprecedented demand is triggering a shortage of everything and pushing prices to new record highs. The industry of electrical equipment, appliances, and components is also experiencing a major breakdown. According to Tim Fiore, who oversees the ISM survey, one of the best descriptions of the situation comes from an electrical equipment manager who said that things are now out of control. Everything is a mess. We are seeing wide-scale shortages, from steel and aluminum to electronic chips and control boards. There are shortages of everything, exclaimed Alan Stern of George Washington Toma. So we're seeing large back orders on things like dishwashers and refrigeration, he said. Over the past few months, after so many rounds of business shutdowns and the consequent deceleration of economic activity, many companies have been forced to slow down production. And now, in the face of growing demand, shortages are way up, Fiore said, adding that labor shortages are also contributing to the aggravation of this issue as factories struggle to maintain full staffing while also observing safety precautions for the health crisis. And when they say they can't get parts, if you peel through that, most of that is probably related to the fact that people making those parts simply can't get labor. It all kinds of feeds down 3 or 4 tiers through the supply chain, he explained. Shortages of power equipment are forecasted to persist through late summer or fall, given that, according to Cody Morrison of Morrison's Power Equipment, getting new components from overseas has been very difficult. The problem has become so serious that many of the regional Fed business surveys asked specific questions about supply chain disruptions over the past few months, which also proves the central bank was always aware of the effects its monetary policies could cause. As we can observe, most manufacturing firms reported that current supply chain disruptions are negatively impacting production. Moreover, at least 38% of respondents in the Atlanta Fed survey affirmed that supplier delays were moderate to severe, while 49% of Dallas Fed respondents disclosed that disruptions had notably increased input prices. To better illustrate the causes of the ongoing supply chain disruptions, Goldman Sachs recently released a report outlining that even though supply shortages have affected a wide range of products, the root causes are oftentimes the same. First, manufacturers have been caught unprepared by a surprisingly acute uptick in demand and hadn't ordered enough inputs in advance to meet production needs. Second, the fact that demand rapidly grew during a time when transportation services are limited by the health crisis has led to an undersupply of shipping containers and congestion issues at West Coast ports, consequently resulting in prolonged shipping delays. Goldman affirms that neither of the above two problems should abate soon, especially considering that the financial support for household income will continue to stimulate consumer spending and therefore a heightened demand. On the other hand, the sanitary outbreak should continue to disrupt the supply of international goods transport services for the time being, and things won't change until there's a widespread inoculation across the United States and in other trade partner countries. For that reason, Goldman calculates that higher shipping costs are increasing year-over-year core consumer price inflation by nearly 9%. Unexpectedly strong demand for manufactured goods is providing a boom across many of the country's industries, but it's being followed by a huge headache. As supply chains are getting the tightest they've ever been, critical industry components are proving a lot more difficult to procure. For example, Drew Greenblatt, the president of Marlin Steel in Baltimore, has recently revealed in an interview that Although the economy seems to be snapping, frustration is starting to mount. Steel his company uses to make pail handles has been back-ordered for months. He says, last month we would have shipped 25% more if we'd not had these shortages. We're banging our head against the wall because if we accept an order today for these pail handles, we can't ship until July. It's madness, Greenblatt said. Another company owner within the primary metals industry said to be seeing their new order log increase by 40% over the last 2 months, but they're overloaded with orders and do not have the personnel to get product out the door on schedule. Nicole Volta, whose company makes packaging equipment used by food processors, said that before the health crisis started, her customers were reluctant to buy new machines. But right now, they can hardly wait. It's like, I need things yesterday, Walter exclaimed, quoting her customers, hot, 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 now, now, now. Can you do more overtime? What can we do to make it happen? She continued, stressing that her employees are already working overtime, but as she's struggling to find aluminum supplies and basic things such as wooden pallets, products she used to promise in 6 weeks now take twice that long to deliver, and the cost of her products keeps on rising. Transportation problems are also leading to gas shortages all over the nation, and consumers are already feeling the impacts of it on their wallets. Sometimes I think the pump is broken or something. It keeps going, and then it goes all the way to like $45 now, stated Ashley Ledesma of Greenville. Latest AAA data suggests that gas prices in South Carolina are now trading at $2.64 a gallon, and that's a 36-cent raise from last month alone and a 66% increase from last year. Even more worryingly, in the housing industry, shortages of critical materials used to build new homes are threatening to bring construction to a standstill, adding extra pressure to a sector that's been impaired by rising mortgage rates and a lumber deficiency. Shortages of cabinets, appliances, and vinyl to extrude windows have halted the construction of new homes, as there was an 80% jump in copper prices. As home builders were already dealing with a major lumber shortage, which sent prices up by 180% and added roughly $30,000 to the cost of smaller-sized homes. This is a perfect storm of events and factors, not unlike other material shortages that are being pressed by the continued record pace of residential construction, said Jim Beatty, Executive Director of the Concrete Foundations Association. Consequently, higher mortgage rates and the rising prices of construction materials will take some of the steam off the super-hot housing market, according to Dr. Lawrence Yun, Chief Economist at the National Association of Realtors. If we don't have adequate supply, it's going to simply push up prices much faster than people's income growth, Yun said. The supply chain breakdown is becoming so severe it's even gotten the attention of the White House. Last week, President Biden issued an executive order aimed to address the shortages of electronic supplies. But as the problem involves a variety of goods, even Bank of America's Chief Investment Officer, Michael Hartnett, is warning there will be critical challenges ahead. Our worldwide supply chain, he says, and ability to provide products and services to you is being significantly impacted by increased prices resulting from labor and raw material shortages, escalating raw material prices, manufacturing delays, and transit interruptions. Stated directly, our costs are increasing and are much more volatile than in the past, he noted. As more money flows into the economy, we're about to experience more shortages of multiple other goods while watching how the Fed-fueled inflationary spike will ravage our purchasing power. We're now on phase 2 of the economic collapse, or what some like to call the everything collapse, which means we have just entered an era where everything will spiral out of control and the result is the most dramatic crisis this country has ever seen. Now, more than ever, you should start to get ready for the troubles that are coming next.